On your screen right now is a slide presentation on slides, and there's a short link that you see right here in the middle of the page. I have put that short link in the chat window, so if you have to scroll a little bit, you'll see it at the very beginning of the chat. That's available for you. I won't be going through the slideshow because it's always best to actually show you live demonstrating so you can actually get a visual memory of it. To me, that's the most important thing. If you forget about how to do something in slides, just having seen it done by somebody gives you enough confidence to know it can be done. You'll either find how you do it in the presentation or by watching the recording of this video. I will put it on YouTube later today, and I will email the link to the YouTube recording of the Zoom meeting either tonight or tomorrow. So when you get that, I recommend that you just watch the Zoom video and pause it anytime you want. You can open up a tab in your browser, go into Drive, and just go ahead and open up a blank slide presentation, and you can follow along and go at your own pace. So we will go through this fairly rapidly, so it's probably best to just follow along, listen. If you want to click through slides on your own, you can feel free. That said too, on this presentation, if you're logged into Drive and you visit that short link to this presentation, just know that you can go to File right here and you can make a copy. So you can actually make your own personal copy of this presentation, and that's available for you. It won't affect my presentation, so if you want to edit that copy, make any changes you want, if you plan to use slides or introduce slides to students, you can go through and simplify any of the verbiage, change up the pictures, whatever you'd like to do. You can change the title slide to have your name and classroom number and so forth. So I've had one or two show up before I started here. So if I do hear your mic going, I'll mute you unless I hear you ask me a question. You can ask a question at any time during this presentation in the chat window if you'd like. If it's pressing, you can certainly turn your mic on real quick and ask the question. Otherwise, we have 2 hours allotted for this, and we will be going through this presentation for an hour and a half, approximately, and with half an hour allotted afterwards for any questions you may have. We can use that to go over anything that any of you missed or weren't quite sure of, or if you have a specific question about slides, i.e. can you do a certain thing, I can certainly go through that with you. When the training is over, I'll let you know, and you can feel free, if you don't have any questions, to go ahead and leave the meeting at that point, or you can stick around and ask questions. But again, we'll be sending you a YouTube link for the entire presentation, and you can pause it at any time you want and go through that. That said too, if you visit YouTube and type in Google Slides tutorial, you're going to find that there's a whole lot of people out there that want to show you how smart they are. Just make sure that you filter it by more recent YouTube videos, so you're getting all of the features that have been put in the last 6 or 7 months. So that said, we'll go ahead and get started here. So what we're going to cover today is just an introduction to the interface, to the system itself, what's on the screen. We're going to talk about how to make a new presentation, how to put a pretty theme on it, the different kinds of slide types that are available to you and how you can use them, how to add information to the slides and how to format it, animations and transitions, how to share and embed a slide as well. And then I'm going to talk about a fairly new feature. It's actually been around for probably over 1.5 years, but a lot of people still don't know about it, and that's the question and answer mode when presenting. So again, if you want this short link, you'll see it at the very beginning of the chat window. I posted that link to this presentation, so that is available to you as well. And once you get there, you can go File and make your own copy. So that said, I'm going to go over here to Drive, and we're going to start with creating a slide presentation, and then we'll talk about what's on there. I'm going to do my best as I go along to draw from any experience you may have with Microsoft PowerPoint. Okay, so if you scroll up to the very beginning of the chat, you should see that short link. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and repost that right now. Okay, so I just reposted that. All right, so we're going to start with Drive. Just a real quick, really quick rundown on Drive. Drive is sort of like Google's My Documents. So just think about it as a place where you can add folders, you can upload files, you can upload folders from your computer, you can store them in Google Drive. It's sort of the place you would start from in order to create documents and to share them with others as well. What we're going to do though is we're going to go here in Drive to the New button, and we're going to go ahead and choose Google Slides right here. And what will happen is you're going to get this blank, really boring looking white background slide presentation. We'll give that a moment to connect. Sometimes the internet runs a little slow on Google because there's just so many people right now using it. And I'll try a refresh. Okay, there we go. All right, so if you're familiar with Microsoft PowerPoint, a lot of this right now is going to look familiar to you. You've got a title slide automatically given to you. You have a place right here where you can click to add a title. You can click to add a subtitle. This can be anything you want. Both of these are text boxes, and so they are resizable, and you can move them around on the screen. On the left-hand side, you have a visual representation of the first slide because there's no text or images on it. It looks blank here as well. And then up on top, there is an untitled presentation. So that's currently your file name when you first start out. And then underneath that, you have a file, edit, view, insert, format, and so forth menu. If you're familiar with Microsoft Office around, say, 2000 or so, this would be what PowerPoint looks like as well. Same menus in largely the same order all the way to tools. Add-ons is something that's different, and help is probably something that would have been new as well. If you're using anything after 2000, Office 2000, then you'll notice that PowerPoint has a giant ribbon bar across here that has a ton of different features. Google wanted to keep this simple, so they kind of went with the model of the 2000 version in order to have the menu simplified and still give you the vast majority of the feature set in PowerPoint that was mostly used and most powerful. And then adding some Google goodness in there, things that only Google can do. We'll talk about those things that are different. On the right-hand side, you've also got themes, and this is opened up automatically for you, and it steals some of your screen space on the right-hand side. To get rid of it, there's a little X right here to get your screen space back. And you'll notice that this one says in this presentation, we're using this one right here, but there's also a black one. And if I click it, it'll immediately change the slide to have that background. And then you've got this one called Streamline, Focus, and so forth. And all of these themes are available for you. If you choose a theme and you decide to change it up again, right here in the menu bar, it says theme. And you can at any time click here, this column will open up again, and you can change your theme to be something else. So I'll just go through here, find something interesting. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and choose this one right here. You'll notice that the title and the subtitle are centered. There are certain font and font size. You see this one here called Paperback, it's a different kind of font, and it's located on the left. So just know that on top of color schemes and so forth and background imagery, that you have a different font that you begin with by default. Of course, you can always change that. But if you click from one to another halfway through your presentation, you decide to change your theme, just know that some things may be in different places, and you may have to make some adjustments to your presentation. All right, now that I picked this theme, I'm going to click right here and close that window and get some of my real estate back. So this, of course, is larger to fill that space. The other thing I want to direct your attention to is down here where it says click to add speaker notes. You can put as many speaker notes in here if you want. If you do this on Google Chrome, you will probably have the ability to actually dictate your notes right into that window, and it will hand type for you while you talk. If this is not enough space to see your notes, this little separator bar between the workspace up here and your notes area has a little handle right here in the middle, these little tiny 3 dots. If you click, you can actually expand this space right here and see much larger, longer notes. When you're done, you can always bring that back down again. PowerPoint has had that feature as well, by the way, so it's nothing new, but it may be new to you. All right, so what I'm going to do right here is click to add title. So right off the bat, I'm just going to jump right in, and I'm just going to put volcanoes. And down here, I'm going to click subtitle, and I'm going to go ahead and put, actually, I'll pretend I'm a teacher here and say Mr. Woods, room 103. Now, if you find that what you're typing doesn't fit, if it seems like it's running over the space that's allotted for you, you can, on any of these text boxes, if you click inside of it, you'll see these resize handles here in the corners and in the middle. You can always make that text box larger. Up here as well, you'll notice that I have a lot of extra space. I can leave that. I don't have to change anything. But if that bothers me, I can go over here and I can always resize this box to make it fit so I don't have any wasted space. It's up to you. You don't have to do that, but you can. When you've got a text box selected as well, if you take your cursor right over the border, you'll see that it changes from a cursor where you use to type text to a 4-way arrow. When you see that, you can click down and you can actually move any of these text boxes anywhere you want, and so forth. You see that this is white text. It doesn't show up on that white background. So I'm going to go ahead and bring it back up here. Now, do you notice that little red line that shows up right there in dead center? You'll probably notice it more down in the white area. That's telling me that I'm centered right now and I can release. So if I need it to be perfectly centered, just know that there are little guides that will appear from time to time to let you know, just as with this one as well. If I move it, if I get centered, that red line will show up to tell me, hey, you're centered, and I can release. Another thing about text boxes, that little red dot that shows up when you click in a text box means that you can actually tilt to the text. You just click and move your mouse to the left or the right, and you can move things around if you wanted to. I'm going to go ahead and undo and bring it back to the center. All right, so I have the world's most boring PowerPoint type presentation here. It's just a single slide, just says volcanoes, my name, and a fictitious room number. I want to go from here to actually adding another slide. But before I do that, I still have up here the words untitled presentation for the name of my slideshow. So if I click in there, I can type in a file name. And if I do that right now, after I've actually created my title slide, I'll demonstrate. It will steal the slide, the title slide's title for you automatically and put it in there. If you have not made your first title slide yet, it won't. You can click in there and you can type whatever you want. But if you don't like that name to be the name that's on your title slide, you can always go in here if you want and change it. So I can go in here and just type in something different and then click away. If you have name remorse, you can come up here anytime you want and you can change the title right here. Also, by the way, in Drive, and I will refresh this window. Here is my volcano presentation. If I right-click on a presentation that's being stored in Drive, I also have the option to rename it right here too. All right, so getting back to our volcano presentation. All right, so down here in speaker notes, I'm just going to add something real quick. So I'm going to bring this up. Be sure to introduce yourself. Mention the various resources available on the website. So I can put that in there for one, just to remind myself, and then bring that back down. All right, so to go from a single slide presentation like this with the title slide to a second slide, I'll go right over here. Now I've got slide and new slide right here. And I can then apply a layout to that new slide if I want to. But rather than go through those motions, there's a simpler way to do it. Right here on the menu bar, there is this little plus sign. And if I click on the plus sign, it will choose for me what the next slide type or layout will look like. But they have this handy little drop-down menu right here, this little black arrow just to the right of it. And if I click that, I can choose a new slide, and I can also choose the layout for that next slide. So I've got title slides, section headers. If you have a really long presentation, you can break it up by section headers and then state what the next section is going to be about. Title and body, this is usually what you'll see on the second slide. Student will learn, or what we'll cover today, sort of a slide. And then this is usually how most presenters break down their subjects. Title in 2 columns, and they'll typically put a header up on top, and then they'll put text on one side and an image on the other, and then they'll alternate perhaps, just to break up the monotony. This one right here is a title only. So there's a bar on top for a title and the rest is blank. This one's a great one for adding videos in if you want, or a couple of different images, or just one large image. And title and body, this one just has a shorter title on the side and a single text box, and it leaves all this white space over here, maybe for a large image or a chart or something from Sheets and so forth. This is a main point slide. Some people use this to put in a really big quote or something. And then you've got section title and description. So it's like this section header, but it just adds a description, and it adds an area where you can put text or an image if you want to have something visually more interesting. This one is caption only, and so you can put a big image or a video, and you can just put a caption down here. I see a lot of teachers use this one to insert a big video, and then in the caption area, they write a question that will guide the student's attention while they're watching that short video clip. This one is also used for a quote or big numbers. And then you've got blank, and blank just allows you to start adding text boxes, images, and you decide where everything goes. So that said, I'm going to go to the traditional second slide, which is right here, the title and body. When I click it, I now get slide 2 over here represented. Slide 1 is still up here. Here's 2, nice and blank. And I'm just going to go ahead and put here, what about volcanoes? And I'm going to say, they grow and grow. They move the dirt. They make noise and spew bad things. And then I'm going to say, plants die and move away. I'm going to say, animals follow the plants, and people follow both. And then I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, and I'll do one last one. The cycle repeats. So the reason why these are short and sweet, they're meant to just draw attention from students. They may go grow and grow, move the dirt, noise and spew bad things. What does spew mean? You keep these short because they're supposed to be bullets. And so I'm going to get on my soapbox and talk a little bit about PowerPoint philosophy here. Bullets are meant to be bullets. They're meant to be short. A bullet is not meant to be this long thing that if you read it, you get the gist of what you're about to say. Because what happens when you do that is you get students who will read the bullets and then decide, well, okay, that's it. I really don't need to listen to the teacher anymore because I got all of it. I've read the 27 words on that page, and so I don't have to listen to everything they say over the next hour and a half. If you keep them short and you keep them interesting, then they'll wonder what it is you're going to say about that particular bullet. And so you become the person who's giving out the information, not your slide. And you use those slides to amplify what you're about to say. So again, title, and then a breakdown of what we're about to cover today. And then what we'll do from here is break down the first bullet. They grow and grow right here. So what I want to do is go over here to 2 again and click. And this time I'll do a title and 2 columns type slide. And again, I'm clicking on that arrow right next to that plus sign for new slides. This way I can choose the layout I want. Title and 2 columns. Going back here, they grow and grow. So I'm just going to click here and go, volcanoes grow and grow and grow. And then I mentioned that when breaking down a subject, usually what happens is there's text on one side, there's an image on the other, but you'll see there's 2 text boxes. And if you're familiar with PowerPoint, you can either click in here and start typing text, or there's usually like a set of 4 icons in here want to grab images or clip art or a video or an audio file. They don't have that in Google Slides, but what we're going to do is go over here to the border. Remember, when you go to a text box border, your cursor becomes a four-way arrow. And I'm going to click on the border of this text box and just hit delete on my keyboard. I'm throwing away that text box because I don't need it, because I'm going to put an image over here. So volcanoes grow and grow and grow. So I'm going to put pressure from below pushes the ground upward. This moves the dirt around from the pressure point. And then lastly, I'm going to put eventually the volcano breaks through. Now, you can shorten up these bullets even further because I told you these need to be short, and here's an example of me not following my own advice. But you can shorten these up further if you want to. You can say pressure pushes up, dirt gets kicked aside, volcanoes break through. And so again, they're short and sweet, and the student will wonder, well, what do you mean by that? What is this, what's the teacher going to say right now? What I'm going to do right now, though, is I'm going to show you how to insert an image into a Google slide. And so you may have guessed it over here under insert. There are all the things you say you're going to insert: images, text boxes, audio files, videos, shapes, tables, just like you have in Microsoft Word, charts, just like you have in Excel, even diagrams that you can use and edit and change up. Some really simple word art similar to Microsoft Word, and then lines and comments and so forth. But what we're going to do is go with this first one, insert an image. Now, you'll notice that little menu pops up there when I pause over the word image, and it shows you that there are 6 different ways to bring an image into slides. The first one is uploading from your computer. If you choose this one, you have to have your image available somewhere on your machine. You can search the web, which is the one I'm going to show you in a minute. You can use Drive. If you've already placed some photos ready to go into a Google Drive folder, those are available for you here. You can click Drive, navigate to the folder, pick the image, and then you can insert it. Photos. If you are taking pictures with your cell phone and you're using the account, the Google account tied to the same account you're going to be creating your slideshow on, if you're using Google Photos on your phone, then it actually backs up your photos to photos.google.com, which means that all the photos on your camera are hidden there, hanging out, ready for you to use. If you are using a work account, such as a tularico.net or a Google account provided by your school or organization, then you most likely don't have that account as the Google account on your cell phone, which means that those photos will not be in Google Photos. But if you have an Android device or an iPhone that's got Google Photos installed and you're letting it back up and you're actually creating the presentation in the same Google account, all of those photos will be available for you. By URL. This means that you know the exact address of the image, all the way down to the .jpg or the .gif or the .png. You can copy that address, put it in here, and it will give you the image to embed. The last one is camera. Now, if you're on your laptop computer and you've got that little tiny pinpoint camera on your screen pointed at you, unless a selfie is going to be what you use to enrich visually your image on the slideshow, it's not going to be helpful. But if you are editing your slide presentation on your cell phone or on a tablet, you've got that back-facing camera available for you, and you can actually take a picture and then bring it right into that presentation on your cell phone or your tablet. If you have a external camera on your computer, then yes, you could then turn it and point it and bring a photo in. That said, with all these ways, I'm going to show you right now, search the web. So again, insert image and search the web. Now in the same place where I picked my theme, on that right-hand column now appears a Google search engine for images. If I were to search Google Images normally for a volcano photo, Oh gosh, there's probably somewhere in the vicinity of 60 to 80 or 100 million photos of volcanoes. But not all of them are okay for me to use. Some of them, probably quite a number of them, are copyright protected. Even though I can see it and I can download it, and if I put it in here, if I use it in the four walls of my classroom for educational purposes, I'm good to go according to copyright law. But if you decide or your student decides to publish a presentation they make with that photo and somebody comes across it searching Google, if it is the owner of the copyright of that image, they can come after you legally for violating copyright. Even if you never visited their website, you just found the image in Google, you're still violating the terms of their website where that image is housed, because it probably says image copyright so-and-so, all rights are retained by their copyright owner. They might even have a thing that says if you want to use it, it's $50 per instance or $500 per instance, depending on the creator of the image, how popular they are, how much they usually charge for their imagery, and so forth. So to keep your students from getting into trouble, we use the insert here, and then image search the web, because this Google search engine will give you search results on volcano that are probably the loosest copyright level. Literally images that are, you can download them, you could edit them, you could recolor them, you could crop them, you could add text on them, you could slap them on a coffee cup and sell the coffee cup for $15 a pop. That is largely what those images ought to be. Now, if somebody takes a famous artwork like the Mona Lisa, puts it on Google, and then says this image is copyright free, you notice something like the Mona Lisa here, you know it's not copyright free. It means that the person who put it on Google designated it incorrectly for whatever reason. Now, the one thing that will protect you in large part is if the slideshow gets publicly presented and somebody who owns the copyright to that image comes to you and says, you can't use that image, it's got copyright. You can point out to them that, did you know that Google has listed this because someone told them that this image is copyright free? They can actually search for that image and they'll probably find it all over the web. They can begin doing the process of finding out who lied when they put that image online. But your culpability goes down a lot because someone else lied to you, so to speak. And so the most they can usually do is tell you, well, just remove the image from your presentation. And so you can do that, put a different image. But it just kind of lowers the liability on you for using copyright material. So that said, I typed in volcano and I get these search results. It's not going to be 64 million. It's going to be far fewer, but I'm probably going to find something that looks really good. So I'll go ahead and click on this one to choose it. And I'll click right here where it says insert. And what will happen is it will resize the image to fit into the space. If it's too big, you've got your little handles here in the corners that you can use to resize if you want, and so forth. Now, if I bring this over, you'll notice that the text cannot be seen because this image has been added after the text, and so it's on a layer above the text. If you want to change that, you can. There is an arrange menu item right here. And so if I select this image and then go to arrange and order, I see that I can send it backward one level or all the way to the back, either or. And you'll see that now the text is on top of this image. And then I can move this around if I want to. But because this is so dark here, I'm probably gonna want that text on top because it would be hard to read it. So, but I just wanted you to see that you can arrange the order of anything. Same with the text box. If you select it, arrange, order, and you can send it backwards or send it to the back too, or forward if that is available for you. All right, so I got myself an image here, and I've got my first little breakdown of topic 1, the grow and grow. Now, one of the things that I want to show you before I add any more slides on here and content is if I present this slide right now, all of these bullets are going to come in together, boom, right there on the screen along with the title. If you've gone to any good presentations, you probably noticed that all of these bullets right here come in one by one. And the reason that people do that is because they don't want you to read all the bullets ahead, because maybe you'll just assume, okay, I know everything I need to know, I can tune out. But if the bullets come in one by one, then you can talk a little bit about that bullet before you bring in the next bullet, and you talk a little bit about that too. Same as with this slide. If I animate the text so it comes in bullet by bullet, this also will allow me to talk about each bullet individually and then bring in the next one when I'm ready. Students aren't reading ahead. I don't have to wait for them to finish reading everything before I start, and so forth. So to animate text on a slide, what I do is I go to that slide and I can click anywhere in the slide that has bullets or text in it. And all I have to do from here is click on Insert, because again, I'm inserting something, and I go down here to Animation. Again, on the right-hand side, that same column shows up, and it says Object Animations. And they give me an animation right off the bat, ready to go. You'll see that there's the word they right here. Over here is also the word they. So it's a visual representation that this is the area I'm going to be adjusting. It's also highlighted in blue to tell you. They give you, by default, fade in. Fade in, just the text fades in really quick. But if you click the drop-down arrow, you'll find that you also have appear, fly in from the left, fly in from the right, the top, the bottom. You've also got zoom in, and you've got spin. Now, if you've ever been in a PowerPoint presentation where they use some weird type of animation, you'll know that when you get in the 12th and the 13th and the 20th slide, that really interesting animation begins to get annoying. If you've ever been in a PowerPoint presentation where they use the breaking glass or the boom, the animation, or the worst of the worst, the typewriter text animation, where each of the words or the letters come in like that. By the time you hit the 4th slide, you want to crawl out of that room and go somewhere else. So don't be that guy, is what I'm saying. Even though the bells and whistles for the animations are interesting, don't use them. Stay away from them. Appear is good, fade in is good. Even the fly-ins are okay, but I tend to go for the appear or fade in. And you want it to be on click. You want to be able to click on your slide and have the next bullet come in, click on your slide, have the next bullet come in. The one helper that Google doesn't give you is this one right here, by paragraph. You will need to check it. Even though these are short paragraphs, a bullet is a paragraph unto itself. And so you want them to come in paragraph by paragraph by paragraph when you click. So you do want to make sure you select that. When you present or you practice presenting, if you notice that they come in too slow, you can adjust the speed right here. You can go all the way from slow to fast and then see how that looks. Now, if you want to see how this looks, now that I've gone through and said fade in on click by paragraph, right here is a little button that says play. And you can see what that looks like. The title comes in, it's a blank screen. I click anywhere on the screen and the first bullet comes in, and I can talk about that a little bit. They move the dirt, I can read that, talk a little bit further. Maybe the kids are like, ooh. And then when it dies down a little bit, I click on the next one. Maybe I say a few more things, or they read it and they go, ooh, and so forth. And I keep going and so forth. So I see that these come in paragraph by paragraph as I click. When I'm done with that, I can just hit stop. And then I can close this window, or I can move over here to slide 3, click in this area, and right here it says add animation. And it says P-R-E-S-G-R-O-U. Well, P-R-E-S-G-R-O-U is right here. So once again, I'll use fade in on click by paragraph. But what if I want to animate that image as well? I can do that. Now that this has been established, I can click on this image and add animation again. Once again, there's fade in on click. And maybe if I want, I can try up here for this one. And so if I hit play, it's a blank screen. Pressure from below, I talk, click on the next one, on the next one. And then lastly comes in the image. So what if I animate the text and then I animate the image and then I realize, well, I wanted the image to come in first so that the kids can go, whoa, before I have the text come in. On my animations though, I added the text first and then I animated the image. I can click here and there's these little 6-dot menus right here. And if I click, I can actually drag that up to come first. So now when I click play, the image comes in first, the kids go, wow. And then I click again, first bit of text comes in, next bit of text, next bit of text, and so forth. So this is exactly what I want. And then I can go ahead and close that window because I don't need to animate anything else right now. Now the same goes with these slides. If I mess up and this slide was created before this slide, maybe I was here when I created slide 3 and I should have been on slide 2. If these are out of order, all I have to do is click here and drag any of these slides into the order I want. So it's an easy fix. PowerPoint has always had that too. All right, so from here, in large part, it's lather, rinse, repeat. I'm basically going here and going, okay, I did my slide for grow and grow. Now I need a new one that says they move the dirt. And so I would go here and I would just add another 2-column slide. And I would just say, you know, that it moves the dirt. And I would just add my bullets, maybe find another beautiful image. Maybe I'll change it up a little and I'll put this image on this side and the text on this side. But that's usually what happens. You put as many slides as you need to talk about that topic and then you move on to the next topic. So I'm not going to go over again and again and again because we just waste a lot of time just basically repeating the same practices on each slide. But one thing I do want to point out, these little what look like 3 coins on top of each other, these are animation. And if I pause over them, the word animation comes up. Those 3 dots right there will tell you that there is some form of animation on this slide. It's nice for you as a presenter because it lets you know what slides you animated so you can go through and check the animations and see if visually they're doing what you want. Otherwise, you can actually remove those animations. All right. So if I see animations in here and I wonder about them, I can still go to Insert Animation and see, I see a second one. I'm going to throw it away because I don't need it. But my animations are here, and if I click it, there's a trash can. So if you decide and change your mind about any animation, just click on the animation and you can throw them away right here under the trash can. So I just want to see that you knew you could do that. So other things we can add in here. What I'm going to do is click right here on slide 3, and I'm going to go ahead and add a slide that just says section header right here. And I'm going to put in here volcano erupting. Ooh. So I have this little header up here because I want to show you another thing you can insert into any slide. Up here again under insert, you've got video. And if you click it, you can insert by YouTube. You can search YouTube right here. If you know the actual address of a YouTube video, you've already seen it, you have it in mind, you can paste it in here. Or Drive. You can actually insert a video that's in Drive. So if you've taken video with your cell phone and you would like to share it, you could upload it to your YouTube channel and make it available that way. Or you can upload that video into a Google Drive folder. You need to give time in order for the video to get processed inside of Drive. Once it's done though, you'll be able to search it in Drive and you'll be able to add it in there and manipulate it just like a YouTube video. So all those videos you have sitting on your phone, you want to share with the kiddos, you can either put them in YouTube or dump them in the Drive folder and insert from there. All right, so I'm going to back up right here again. So the process here is insert video, and I'm going to search YouTube right here. I'm going to put in volcano erupting. And so top 5 volcano eruptions caught on. Here's one video of a volcano erupting. Here's National Geographic. And so if you're like me, then you're hearing that National Geographic start song or music in your head right now. What was this one right here? Kamchatka volcano eruption, National Geographic. If I select it and then click on select, it's going to insert the video right here on the screen. And because it's an object, just like a text box or just like an image, I can resize it and place it around. I can take this header and move it up a little bit higher, give myself a little bit more room. And if I click on it, you'll see that the video works right inside here. And then I can pause it, I can talk, play a little bit more, pause it, and talk. But here's the cool thing. This is only a 2-minute and 16-second video. But what if it were a 27-minute video and I don't have time to show a 27-minute video? And I can't find the exact portion of it I want just as a separate YouTube video. What you can do is you can fast forward to the point you wanted to show, say right here, and it says 28 seconds. Well, I can say right here, you know what, I want this video to start at the 28-second point. And then if I go through and I go forward and I go, you know, I want it to end right about here, I can say in this at the 1 minute and 14 point. And when I actually go to the slide, that's where it's going to start and that's where it's going to end. So I don't have to show the whole video, just the portion I want. And if I don't want to click on it, I have an autoplay right here that will make it happen automatically. And here's another cool one. If I'm in a small classroom, the walls in the school are thin, and every time I start a YouTube video, it comes out blazing because I don't know if the night custodian cleaned my speaker system and the volume's at 10 again. I can say mute the audio, so it just shows the video, but doesn't put any audio in there too, if I wanted to, okay? So those are available for you as well. Then I'll click close right here. So all the way to the beginning again, and so forth. All right, so I can insert a video. I can also, and I'll just go ahead and add another title header slide. I can also insert a lot of other cool things, audio files. If you decide to bring an audio file in, you're going to need to get it into Drive somehow. So if you have the sound of a volcano exploding, you can download it, bring it in the Drive and put it in a folder, and then hunt for it and put it here. If you have done voiceovers, if you've done some narration yourself, or you would like to have narration performed, you can take your cell phone and use voice memo and record what you want to say on a slide, hit stop, and then you can forward it to your computer, and you can actually put it in Drive, and you can actually insert that audio file, and it'll show up as a little speaker. And so if you're doing distance learning and you're making this slideshow available for your students to go through, you can actually, on each of these slides, you can do on your voice memo, you narrating what you would have said on that slide if you were present, send that audio file, put it in Drive, and again, insert audio, and you can insert it and there'll be a little speaker, and your students on every slide can click on that audio, and it will be your voice talking about that slide. And then when you stop talking, they know to move on to the next slide, and there will be an audio file of you talking about that slide as well. So it's almost like you were there, even though they're just clicking through a presentation you shared with them. So, but you can do this with animal sounds, nature sounds, thunder, lightning. If you can find the file, download it, you can put it in Drive, and you can embed it right there. You can also insert shapes, and there are a ton of different shapes you can add into a slide. If I go over here to shapes, here are some basic shapes, squares, circles, and so forth. So if I wanted to add maybe something like a square, I can click, and here's my square. And up on here, the menu bar will add a few options for me to format that square, such as what's the fill color? Well, I can make it orange. How about the line around it? Well, maybe I don't want orange. Maybe I want a darker orange. And right here is how thick is the border around that shape. Well, maybe I want it something thick like 4. And maybe I don't even want it to be a solid line. Maybe I want it to be a dashed line. So when I click away, you see that you can format shapes here just as well. And these are resizable. You can move them around. You have your little tilt button on top. You can even right click and copy, and right click and paste, or do a Control V on your keyboard, and you can even paste, copy and paste shapes. Other shapes, arrows, all kinds of different arrows. So if you needed to have an arrow pointing at something, you can click, choose the direction of the arrow, and again, fill color, border if you want, and so forth. If you don't want a border, you can make it transparent. And these can be moved around and tilted, resized. And you also, on some shapes, have these little yellow dots. They allow you to adjust the aspects, the characteristics of an arrow, such as that. You have callouts, so you can put in what look like your scrolls. You can put in your voice bubbles over an image if you want, of somebody talking. And equations, you have some simple mathematical equation pieces right here too. So I'm going to click and delete, click and delete. You can also insert tables, just like in Word or Google Docs, how many columns, how many rows, and you get a nice little table. Let's see here, borders and lines are under format. So you can go through and pick what you want those to look like. And let's see here. Yeah, we won't go through that right now. All right. So to get rid of a table, you just click on it, hit delete. Insert charts. You can insert bar, column, line, and pie charts. Or you can insert based on data that is inside of a Google Sheet. So if you've got some data already there, you can go to the sheet, highlight the data, and then come back and it will create a chart out of that data for you. But you can also create charts directly in here. So if I want a pie chart, it will insert a chart with just some PAT-specific generic information in it. And if this isn't what you want a pie chart, but you only need 3 pie slices and you don't need it to say teams 1 through 3 and points scored, you can go over here, click on that drop-down menu, and open up the source. Buried in that chart, if you use that just give me a chart, buried in that chart is a secret source of information, of data. You won't find this chart anywhere in Drive. It is embedded into your Google Slideshow presentation. And so if I don't need team 4, I don't need a 4th bit of information, I can delete that row. Now I have 3 charts. And if this was room 102 and room 104, and this was room 121, click away, it now has those rooms. And if this was the number of tardies for a competition for some sort of a pizza night, and we'll just say 1, let's say 1 and 4. So here's my breakdown with a chart, and it says points scored. There, and I can change that up too. If I go back to my Volcano presentation, I can click update. And it will update that based upon the data right here that was hidden. I can just close this sheet. And anytime I want, if this changes, maybe I'm doing this week by week or month by month, I can go back in here anytime, go back and open the source, and I can say, okay, room 102 is, oh, here we go. Wait for that to work. Oh, 102, we had another absence, and I can click in there, change up that absence so the students can see who's winning, who's losing, and so forth. We're up to 4, uh-oh. So here's a new one. I'll delete, oh, sorry. I'll bring it back here. And so now I can go back to here, update, and now I have the new division to see who's winning, and so forth. After all that work, I can click and hit delete. I can insert diagrams, word art, lines are pretty cool. I can insert lines, connectors, curves. I can even free scribble if I want lines. Another cool one is inserting animation. So if I put Mr. Pena, and Mr. Pena has a little tilde over the N, I can go insert special characters. You might have noticed this was grayed out earlier. You have to select what you want to affect. So in order for me to get special characters, I have to select something that would utilize special characters, like a character. Insert special characters, and here I can type in the letter N, and it will show me all of the N's that are available to me, and here is our one with a tilde on top. Pretty cool. Now, what if the sentence I was saying is, tomorrow is Pi Day, March 14th. Well, what if I want to insert a pi symbol right here? Insert special characters, and I could type in the word pi, but Google has this really cool built-in with inserting special characters, and it's right here. I can take my mouse and I can actually draw what I'm looking for, and there it is. I just select it. And this is like anything else. It could be formatted bold. I can change the color and so forth, just like I can with text. I can also, by the way, draw emojis, because emojis are in full effect too. And yes, you can draw the poo emoji if you're that much of an artist, and it will find it for you. To get rid of what you drew, you can just click right there. Things like houses. There you are. So it's a pretty cool feature for finding and adding special characters in here. Here's the animation again. We did that earlier. You can insert hyperlinks here. You can even insert comments. So if you make someone a collaborator who can comment, they can highlight text and add comments. All right. I think we covered quite a bit of stuff on here so far. You may have noticed that depending on where I click, this menu right here changes. So if I click where text is, see there's a lot more text options. If I go over here to image, there are a few image options. Well, you saw the volcano I added here. What if I didn't want this entire volcano image? I can either go hunt for a different one, or if I select the image, I get these tools, including crop image. And so I can crop the image right here, but there's also a shape crop. So if I want to crop portions of the image out, I can do that. I can just click right here. I get these black boxes that appear, black borders that appear. And what I can do is just drag those black borders and say if I just wanted to bring this closer to the base of the volcano, when I click away, it will crop that away. And then I can move this down here and make it a little bit bigger even. Well, what if I want to crop it in the shape? If I go back here to crop, it shows me what I cropped out, but I can also restore it or reset it right here. I'm going to bring it back up. If I want to crop, oops, I'm going to click away, there we go, and then bring this back up. If I want to crop it in a shape, I can click on that drop down in shapes. I can actually choose a circle or an oval or any number of these shapes. So let's see here. If I wanted to do, maybe a circle shape. it will crop it in that shape. And if I click away, I get this nice little cameo effect. But any one of these shapes can be used on a Google image here. So if I want to reset it, I can. And if I choose this one with arrows and use this box, I get a nice little arrow right there that points at the text. So it's a really cool feature. It's available for any image you place on the slide if you want to. And I'll click away. So before we go any further, I just kind of went through some of these as I built a presentation for you. What I want to do right now is just go through some of these menu options so you can see what's available here. Under File, you can share from here. You can open up a new Google document from here. You can open and go dig through for something else that you've got in Drive. You can even import slides from other presentations here. So if I click on Import Slides, it will show you every Google slideshow you have in Drive. You can actually go to another slideshow and it'll open up for you. And if you have another presentation that talked a little bit about volcanoes, you can actually go in and say, oh yeah, I want this slide, and oh yeah, that one and this one. And you can import them, and you can even remove the theme that was on them. And then you can import them in so they will utilize the theme that you have. And here are those slides. I just hit undo. But just know that if you have info on other Google Slide presentations, you can bring them in. It won't remove them from the original slideshows, but you can insert them and move them around so that they'll fit within your existing presentation. That's a pretty cool feature, and it's called Import Slides. You can make a copy of the entire presentation, or if you decide, I want to make a new presentation and I just want to use slides 1 through 4 and 7, 9, and 10. You can do that. You can go make a copy of just these slides. It'll put it in the new presentation, and then you can change it up with other content. If in the end you want this to be a PowerPoint, you can build it here, but yeah, you want to open it up in PowerPoint. When you're done, you can go File, Download, and the first option is Microsoft PowerPoint. You can download this as a PowerPoint. It will work just fine in PowerPoint on Mac or PC, and you can just click through it. The animations will be there and everything else. Version history. For those of you who took my Google Drive and Docs training, you know that version history will allow you to see all of the changes you made in the document. So I'm just clicking this arrow to expand it. And so I can go through and look at all of the changes I made on this document. And you may notice it like over here on this slide. These are all the adjustments I made on that slide as I go through. And for any slide that's got some changes and adjustments, it will show those adjustments being made here in the green, so forth. So now that slide, there's that chart I made, I'm showing it over here on the left. So any changes you've made, if you've gone through and you're like, oh, whoa, I want to go back to an earlier version. I don't know why I was even thinking this. You can go through and look at all of the changes you made, literally, all the way down to the moment that this was a brand new slide and I put no content on it whatsoever. At any time, if you find where you want to revert back to, you can go right here to restore this version and it will put it back to that version, and then you can just keep chugging along from there. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go back to my presentation. Version history is a lifesaver when students have a student project. They're working together as a group of 4. Because if I were to go to version history in here, not only does it show the versions, it shows me who made changes on that version. Well, if I had 3 students come to me and said, hey, Joseph isn't helping. We've had this presentation project for 2 weeks and we can't get Joseph to do anything on any of the slides. You can call Joseph over. Joseph looks you square in the eye and says, I helped. Well, you can go to version history and scroll through, and if you don't see Joseph's name anywhere in here, you know that he never went on this presentation. He never made any changes. On the flip side, if Joseph goes in and he messes this thing up so bad, he deletes 7 of the slides, he changes the images, he doesn't know what he's doing, you can go back here to before Joseph made those changes, and you can restore the version and save the day before the other 3 students go thermonuclear on them. And that happens a lot of times on a group project. Some changes will be made and they're not quite sure who did it, how it happened. Restoring it to that version before that could be a lifesaver and could save that group from turning on each other. I'm going to head back out of here. You also have language. Do not confuse this with translate this, all right? Language under file is just what is the language you speak kind of a thing. So it just kind of lets Google know that you're approaching this from somebody who speaks in French or Spanish or Filipino. It's not translating the document for you. I would leave it on English so that none of the interface tries to change on you, unless you really want to have a crash course in learning that language. Because one of the most fun things to do is to convert an interface into a language you don't know, and then try to go through all of the menu items in that language and try to figure out, all right, how does it say to go back to change the language again? Because if it's in Arabic, I don't know the word language in Arabic. So don't go there. Page setups right here. If you have a widescreen viewing, maybe it's on an HD TV, you can do 16:9 or 16:10. If you have an LCD projector that's really old and it's not widescreen, you can go to a standard view, and you can even go to custom. Just so you know this, you can bring a single slide into a Google slideshow, go to page setup, and you can make this be whatever size you want. You can actually make an infographic in Google Slides by just creating a single slide and making it maybe 14 inches wide and 24 inches tall, and put all kinds of images and text and arrows and graphics and turn it into a really beautiful informational graphic. One slide works like a poster or works like a banner. I'm going to hit cancel. You also have print settings and preview. Now, I'm going to show you this real quick here. If you click on print, what's going to happen is it will download a PDF of your presentation and it'll send it to downloads. But if that's not what you wanted to print handouts, this guy won't help you. If you go to File and Print Settings and Previews though, you get this. One slide with notes. How about this one? Handout, 3 pages per slide. And here are note pages right here. And you can download this, the PDF, send it to your students. And if they have a printer available, they can print it out and then they can write in their notes. If you just want to have, let's see here, I'll try portrait mode. This is probably what you're used to seeing as handouts for PowerPoint presentations. So there's lots of really cool things you can do in here too. Let's see here, handout 6 slides per page. How about 9 slides per page? Because it's a short one, I've only got 5 slides, but you could do all 9 slides on a single page if you wanted to. And then you could download it or print it right from here. I'm going to close preview. Under edits, your usual suspects, undo, redo, cut, copy, paste, and so forth. If these are grayed out, it's because nothing is selected. So if I go back, now I have something I can actually use. I have to select what I'm going to affect. You even have find and replace. So if you've done this great presentation on your best friend, Ernie, and you go back and look at this presentation a year later and Ernie ain't your new friend or your best friend anymore, now it's David. You can go find and replace all the Ernies with Davids. Under view, here's where you could present. You can look at animation. You can change the master slide. If you have ever gone into Word and accidentally changed the master document, you know the pain of this. What that does is it changes the default look of every document you create from that day forward. So if you change a master here, just know that when you open another Google slide presentation, it will follow those customizations. So I wouldn't go here unless you know what you're doing and you know how to undo it. Sometimes I wish there was like a little E here that said expert level. And then when you clicked it, it said, are you sure? There's a grid view available for you, so you can see the entire presentation in grid view. And if I click it again and undo that, it'll bring me back to the normal view. If I don't want these rulers right here on the top, you can get rid of them right here by toggling on and off. There are guides. The guides will show you initially what the center looks like, but if that's not good enough for you, you can actually right-click anywhere on any of these, and you can add another guide anywhere you want. And you can move it to the exact position you want so that visually you know where the 1 inch is and the 2.5 inch. And you can put content in and snap it to those guides. And when you're done, you can click right here and you can edit guides, which is another thing right here. You can add them right here, or you can go to View Guides and undo the guides because you don't need them. The guides do not show up when you print. They're just there to help you lay out content if you want. If you don't want to see your speaker notes, you can undo that and this whole box will disappear for you. So we covered things that were in insert here as well. Format. I don't have any text selected, so I'm going to click right here, and now I do. Text, bold, italic, underline. These are located right here, but if you go to format and text, you also have strike through, superscript, and subscript. You have indenting, and you have your left, center, right justifications. You can align content top, middle, and bottom. This is great for working inside of table cells. Line spacing by default is single, but you can go to double or customize it. You have bulleted and numbered lists right here, and there's all kinds of different lists available for you to use. Clear formatting is a cool one. If you have ever been on a slide or you've been in a Word document and you copy and paste text from the internet and you look at that text and you say, oh my God, why is this text light brown with this dark brown background? I just wanted the text. If that happens, you can highlight the text and click right here on clear formatting. It will strip all the weird formatting and just give you black text on the white background. Could save you a lot of time so you don't have to retype all of that text. Borders and lines are right here. Border colors, border weights, border types, dash borders, decorative borders. You can actually round the corners and stuff. All kinds of cool things in here. Slide, here's where you can add a new slide, duplicate, delete, and you can even skip. So if you build this presentation that is 67 slides long because you're going to use it to cover all possible aspects that you get asked question-wise, you can actually go into the slide presentation, choose slides, and skip them. So that way, when you actually present, it will skip over those slides and move over them to the next bit of content. But then you can go back and go through those slides manually if somebody asks a question about that particular topic. Otherwise, you can skip over it. So it makes your slideshow a little bit more dynamic if you'd like. A lot of these, by the way, are available for you with right-click. Just like in Microsoft Office, if I right-click, I also see new slide, duplicate, and skip, and so forth. Change background, apply a different layout, change the theme, and so forth. So right-click is in full effect here, okay? If I choose volcanoes, right-click, cut, copy, paste. I can even look up, or I can turn it into a hyperlink, and so forth. Arrange, we covered some of that. So I'm going to select something. You can change the order. You can align a couple of different things. So if you have, say, 3 images all set up on a page, you can click across to grab all of them, and then you can choose arrange, and you can even align and distribute that content so that they are distributed across the page, or they're all aligned on the bottom or the top of the middle so they all line up perfectly. And you've got to rotate here as well. You can even flip content if you want. Grouping. I don't have anything that is grouped together here or could be grouped, but if I go to insert image and I do a search the web and I just say I want this one and this one and this one and I say insert, I'm going to have 3 images show up here real quick. So I'll click this first one, I'll resize it. Oops. Click away. There we go. I just want this one. I'm going to resize it, move it over here. I'm going to move this guy right here. And this guy right here, I'm going to resize him and I'm going to put him right here. If I want them to move and manipulate these three together, I could do a click, shift click to get all three of them. And then I can go over here to arrange group. And now they are set up as a group. No matter where I click, all three of them get selected. I can resize them together and move them around together. If I want, I can go back and ungroup them at any time. And now they're single individual images. So if I move this here and I move this here, and then grab all three, align, center. Now they're all aligned to the center. I'll undo that, arrange, align. I'll do a distribute horizontally. They are equally distributed. And if I go arrange, align to the top, they are all aligned to the top of that area. Tools. There's a spell check built right in. It'll underline arrows. You can add any word that's actually not misspelled. Maybe it's a name. You can add it to the dictionary and tell it to learn it. You can link objects together, look up stuff. You can actually, if you're a nerd like me, you can go in and you can try editing script on the page. So I think I've covered pretty much everything that's on there. I'm going to go to text here just so you can see all of the items here. We covered this. Undo, redo, print, only good for downloading a PDF. This one is paint format. Paint format's kind of cool. If you highlight text and make it bold and italic and you change the color, you can actually click here, use this paint format, and if you highlight text somewhere else, it will paste that formatting on that text too. So if you thought that was a pretty cool feature, here's where the letdown is going to be. Microsoft Word has had that for about 15 years. So it's not a new feature. It's just paint format or format paint has not been used by a lot of people. It just lets you paint format from one text to another. Zoom is right here. You can use this to zoom in if you want. I'll put fit. Select, if you're on any other tool, you can always go here and select. Otherwise, if you just click away, you'll get your selection. Adding text boxes, here's where you can also insert your images, your shapes, your lines. Comments here. You can add background. You can actually put a background on your image of one of 64 colors, or if one of 64 colors isn't enough, you have custom, and you can actually choose from one of about 64 million possible colors. Or you can actually upload an image and make that be the background on your slide if you like as well. Here, I'll click some more text here. Let's see here. Fill colors, if you want, you can put fill colors on objects, like right here, this text box. If I select it, fill color will allow me to add a color behind if I want. Border color, you can make the border color be something else. Of course, your border weight, and whether you want it to be solid or dashed. Here is your font. Fonts are available for you. These are preset fonts. Anybody who has Google will see them exactly the way they are. If you're not sure where, what kind of fonts are going to be available, you can always go with the safeties, the Arial, Calibri, Georgia, Impact. Let's see here, you've got Times in here somewhere. Spectrum or Spectral, Trebuchet, Verdana, and there's even the dreaded Comic Sans Serif. So if none of these are good enough, there's a more fonts, and you can scroll through and add additional fonts, and then they will appear here. The recently used fonts will be here, so you can use those over and over again if you'd like. You've also got your font size, starting from 6 to 96 presets, or you can hand type in. So if I highlight this, it's 30. Here's what 10 looks like. Here's what 24 looks like, and so forth. But if you want an exact size, you can actually hand type in. How about a 42? Oh, that's not too bad. So you can hand type in the font size you want. Just remember to select what you want to affect first. Bold, italic, underline, font color is here, 64, or you can choose a custom. And what's cool about it is if you add any custom colors on a slide, anywhere in there, they will be right here available for you. All of the custom colors you create, so you can use them over and over and over again. You've got highlighter right here, so you can add highlights behind text if you want. You can add hyperlinks. So let's see here. They grow and grow, et cetera, et cetera. This image right here. If you want to turn an image or text into a hyperlink, just select it. You can go insert, link, or right here on the menu bar. And if you click, you can paste in a link from somewhere else, or you can hand type it. And you can even link from text or an image to another slide in this presentation. So if you want, you can skip over content by saying click here, and it'll take them to slide 15 if you want. So you can actually link to content outside on the web or link to slides in your presentation, which means you can turn your slideshow into a little bit of a choose your own adventure story. You can put every possible combination of things that could happen using your section headers as that action they selected and slides to say what's going to happen. And you can link, what are you going to do? And if they click it, or what are you going to do? I'm going to go through the door. I'm going to go home. I'm going to enter the forest. And each of those could be links to a section with slides in it that has that content. Yeah, you heard it here. You can do a choose your own adventure story. Here's your alignment, line spacing, and so forth. And here's that handy dandy clear formatting again. All right, so I think I covered most of the normal stuff you can do in the slideshow. All right, let's talk about some other cool stuff here. I'm going to choose a slide. Because I choose the whole slide, I have a shorter menu, but in here is transitions. We already covered themes, which are right here. Transitions are what happen between slides. So when you're done with slide 1 and you're moving to slide 2, if you want something nice to happen between the two, it doesn't just jump to slide 2, you can choose transition. It says there's none. So if I select, there's dissolve, fade, sliding from the left to the right, flip, cube, and gallery. In this case, you can be that guy. I mentioned in animations, don't do anything that's crazy weird out there. The dissolve and fade and slides are pretty tame, but I'm going to show you cube. And if I select it, I want to apply this to all the slides. I want to have the same transition between every slide. Don't be that guy. Don't put a different type of transition between the slides because maybe you think, oh, 8-year-olds will think that's cool. No, it throws them off because they're wondering what's going to be the next transition. They're not wondering what you're going to talk about. So don't do that. Pick a transition and apply it to all slides. All right, I'm going to show you how that works in a moment here. So I'm going to close this. And if I click on present, I'm going to go to the first slide and click on present. And so here's our first slide. And if I click, that's the cube transition. I click, there's text, there's text, there's text. I'm clicking. There's the transition. There's my image, text, and I'm clicking for each of these bullets to come in. And then it moves on. And then here is my National Geographic. And it starts just as I wanted it, deeper into the presentation or into the video, and it'll stop at a certain point too. And I'm going to click, and then here is my terrible presentation because it's just all over the place topic-wise. And I just hit escape to get back out of there. So we covered themes, transitions, we covered everything on the menu just about. Some of them are more advanced or they're very little used. We covered how to add text boxes. We covered how to animate text. We covered how to add images, how to add video, some alignment tools and so forth, arranging tools and so forth. Over here on the top is present. Now I can go over and dig through here and find, present somewhere else right here, but present is also right here. And if you click it, it'll go full screen and you can present. But I want to show you another feature, and that's using this little drop-down arrow to the right of present. This one is presenter view, and it has audience Q&A and speaker notes. I'm going to click on that. Now, when you present like this, what you need to do is get your second screen. So if you're presenting to a LCD projector on the wall, you want to make sure that this is what you move over to the LCD projector. You don't want to mirror your screens when you're in Google Slides, because if you do, you won't see this handy dandy tool, which has your notes and it tells you the next slide and so forth. And it even tells you how long you've been talking, so you know when you need to shut up and move on. It's also great if you want to put in auto timing in kiosk mode. You can actually find out how long someone should see this slide, and you can have it automatically move to the next slide. But this should not be visible. So you leave this on your screen and you put this on your big screen, okay? And you could present like normal. This is on your screen. So if I click on next, it will move to the next slide, and then I can click on the screen and it'll keep moving. But there are some additional features available for you here. I'm going to go back to this first slide. And so you can present like you normally would, but they've got this audience tool feature, and PowerPoint doesn't have this. PowerPoint may never have it, I don't know. But this is one of the reasons why Google keeps eating Microsoft's lunch. This is under audience tools. And if I say start, what it will do is accept questions. And I'm going to say not from TCOE, but from anyone. And I've got this turned on. At the top of every single slide is ask a question at. So those of you at home right now, if you want to pull out your cell phone, you can actually go in a browser to slides.app.goo.gl/AFMA3. The A needs to be capitalized. I'll give you a moment. You can also open another tab on your computer. But if I'm presenting in a big conference room with 300 people, the last thing I want in my 50 minutes to present is to have the potential of 300 people individually raising their hand and asking a question and stopping me and then having to remember where I was and go on again. If I present in that big conference room and I say, turn this on, this audience tool, and I say I can take questions from anyone, this will be on the top of every single slide. And so anyone at any time can ask me a question. And so if you've got your cell phone and you want to try going to that address, you can go ahead and ask me a question right now. It will appear in that window. And I can see that on my screen as I'm walking around. And I don't have to pause. I don't have to have someone raise their hand. The questions roll in right here. And so I can just roll with it. If I know I'm about to answer that question on the next slide, I can ignore it. When I hit the next slide, it's going to be right there. If somebody else has got their cell phone out and they see this question, they can actually do a thumbs up. And if they do a thumbs up, what that says is, I too would like to know the answer to that question. And so I, as a presenter, can see the top most liked questions, and I know I really need to answer those questions. And so at the end of my presentation, I could look at these, or I can just roll in the answers as I go. And if if they're happy with it, then we're good to go. Or I can just at the end go scrolling through these. I could move this over to the screen where everyone could see it and just scroll through and answer those questions as I go. But for someone who's an introvert, this is great because you can ask the question anonymously. If this is on your screen and not the viewable screen, then you don't have to worry about, what's on that screen. Only you can see it. So when I'm done, I can turn this off and then close it. Okay, I'm going to hit escape here and go back. So present normally is right here. Presenting with that presenter view and audience Q&A is right here as well. So the last few things I'm going to cover here is sharing. Just like with Google Docs, you hit the share button. You can type in the address of somebody you want to share it with, and you can give them the rights to edit, comment, or just view. When you do, then you get a link for it. So if I say Doug Martin at Tulare Co. can edit this, and I hit send, he's going to get an invite and I'll get a hyperlink. Now I don't want to have Doug Martin confused here, so I'm not going to go ahead and send that. But just know that you will get a shareable link right here. And that shareable link will look something like this. You can copy it and you can give it to them. Now, other things you can do through share. If I say anyone at Tulare County with a link can view, anybody at Tulare County can view, but I'm going to go here to more. So actually what I'm going to do here, let me see, let me turn this off and make this look like you normally would see. Share usually looks like this. Put in the addresses, make sure they're the Google addresses, and give them rights. Or you can go right here to advanced, and it says it's private only to you. You can invite people here too. But if you go to change, this one has more global levels of permissions. So here's where it's currently off, and I can say certain people. This one says anyone at TCOE has the link. This one says anyone at TCOE who's again logged into Google, they don't have to have the link. This one is on, and anyone with the link, even if they don't have a Google account or they're not signed into Google. And this top one is anyone in the world publicly on the web could search Google, find this incredible presentation on volcanoes, and they can do whatever I say they can do with it. So these are your audience levels, and they get progressively larger all the way to fully in the public. So think of these as the who. Right here is with the what. By default, when you go into these global permissions, they try to save you by leaving it on as can view only. But you can say can comment and can edit. The last thing you want to do is make it public on the web and say they can edit or can comment, because you are just inviting everyone in the world to come in with snarky comments and all kinds of other things, or to go in and change up everything on your presentation. And there are a few people out there that have accidentally said public on the web and can edit and have had a presentation destroyed. So make sure you don't do that. And once you hit save, again, you get that hyperlink that you can send to people. I'm going to go back to change and turn it off. Now, if you accidentally share it with someone and they mess things up, remember file version history. You can put it back the way it was and change your sharing permissions. Make sure your kids understand the difference between the who, what's the audience, and the what they can do. That they also understand that it is possible to overshare and they could wind up having a problem. Now, the last thing I want to show you before I jump in here and jump in there and start taking some questions real quick, I'm going to jump back to Drive. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here. I'm just going to move a few things around here on my desktop. And I'm going to take a Google Slides practice files folder, and I'm going to drag it and dump it into this space. So it's going to bring in that folder and all of the files in it. And here it is right here, Google Slides practice files. This is a PowerPoint presentation, it has a big old P on it. And if I double click on it, it says .pptx. Now, this is sort of almost like a PDF file. It's flat and I can just look at it. But if I go over here and say open it with slides, it's going to open it in slides. But here's the cool thing, and this feature has been around a little while now. It's going to open it in slides, but it's not going to convert it to a slide format. It's going to look like it did, but it's still a PowerPoint. You can do this with Excel files. You can do this with Word files and Drive. This is still a PPTX, a Microsoft PowerPoint file. And I can go in here and I can edit it. I can change things around. I can change the theme, make it some other theme if I want. I can delete stuff out. I can bring in more images. I can put in a YouTube video. And when I'm done and close it, it will still be a PowerPoint formatted file. Now, if I want to convert it, I can. If I want to make this truly a Google document, I can go over here to File, and I can say save it as a Google slideshow. And when I do, it saves, it leaves the original PowerPoint, but it will add to Drive this same document, but in a true native Google Slides formatted document. Then I can go adjust it a little bit and then change it up and do all kinds of stuff with it. Once I do that, I can insert these slides in the other Google Slides presentations, all of the stuff I normally could do. I could present this with Q&A notes and all the other cool stuff. So all you got to do is bring it into Drive and then right-click on it, and you can open it with whatever you want. Okay? All right, so that said here, let's see, Volcano, Learning Map. I think I've covered pretty much everything I want to cover here. I'll leave this here because I know some of you may still want that link available for you for the presentation. We've still got 28 minutes. If this is good enough, if your head is full and you don't want to learn anything else, you can feel free to hop out of the room. You can stop and say bye and chat if you want. But I'm going to hang out here. If you have a question, you can throw it in the chat. Otherwise, feel free to hop on your mic if you want and ask me a question. If nobody has any questions, I'll sneak on out myself. Just know that I will, this is being recorded. So I will put this as a YouTube video, and I will be sending the YouTube video to all of you. So you'll be able to pause, take your time, go back and try all these features in a Google Slide presentation that you create on your own. So that said, I'll be quiet for a moment and see if anyone has any questions.